Hey guys, I am Nikki with Cotton Street Apparel.
And I'm Deanna with In the Zone Inc. in Bend, Oregon.
I'm Adrienne Palmer with DTF.com.
Welcome everybody to the Print Girl Mafia. This is our live happy hour, and thanks for joining us.
If you guys haven't already joined our Instagram page, we've got over 1,700 followers at this point, and our private closed Facebook page has about 400 followers. So it's ladies only inside of that Facebook page. We're also starting to grow some actual chat groups in that page as well. So there's some cool stuff coming there. Today's show and past shows can be found on our YouTube channel as well. So if you haven't caught up with anything, please go on there, comment, like, share, catch up with us.
Yeah, so today, well, we have a few people to thank, right? So I want to thank, we want to thank Printing United for this amazing space, Apparel List for the booth here, and then who else we got, Nikki?
Got Jared from Golden Press. He's always down to help us out with any camera problems. If you guys are looking for some troubleshooting or some media knowledge, Jared from Golden Press is your guy.
Awesome. Yeah, we couldn't do this stuff without them and just the support of the industry, so we're super appreciative. All right, so let's get to it. We got a very special guest today. We've got Adrienne Palmer here with now DTF.com. DTF. And she's going to tell us about her journey. And Adrienne has become a real asset to this industry. So I'm excited to chat with you about it.
Thanks, Deanna and Nikki, for having me on. It's always amazing to be with you and here to support women in print and Print Girl Mafia. Yeah, many people may know me as the former editor-in-chief of Big Picture and screen printing magazines. I was with Big Picture for almost 11 years and made the transition to DTF.com this summer, just about 2.5 months ago.
Nice.
Yeah, you're making waves, including creating the Women in Screen Printing Awards, right? With Printing United, that was kind of your creation there.
Yeah, so 8 years ago with Big Picture, we saw the need to recognize women, specifically in the wide format space, because that was the only magazine and industry that I was connected with. And so we started we called them the Women in Print Awards at the time. And then when I joined Screen Printing Magazine as the editor-in-chief, I saw the need for that in this industry as well. So we branched off to the Women in Wide Format Awards and the Women in Screen Printing Awards. And so excited to say that both of you are winners of the 2023 awards, which is so incredible.
We also have two OGs from last year that won, Allison and Alexa as well. So kudos to them as well.
And not to mention that I believe Amber Macy is here printing the Women in Screen Printing Award t-shirts.
So she was
a previous winner.
She started printing them, but our very own Allison is also finishing up that print today as well.
Woohoo!
Yes, thank you, Allison. And thank you to Amber Massey. She printed some of her in her shop earlier this week in Fortson, Georgia. And we're so thankful for those t-shirts. You can, if you're here, you can get them over in the apparel zone. We'll have more of them at the event today at 4 p.m., the Women in Wide Format Awards and the Women in Screen.
Do you want to show it? Yeah, so it's a really cool shirt, and it was created by one of our own, JoJo Hole. You might know her from Shirt Kong, and she did the design this year, so we're super excited.
Yes, I just spoke with her actually because she found out I was like, I really would like Joanna to design these shirts. I think she's the perfect fit. She's a fantastic artist. Yeah. She's part of the founding, group for PGM, and she's also in the print space. So I'm so glad that she was able to design the shirts, especially in a little bit of a quick turnaround. So super grateful for Joanna, and the shirts are awesome. Thank you also to the sponsor of the blanks, the provider, All Made, and we're printing on a rock fit.
Yeah. If you haven't worn an All Made shirt, you better get yourself one because they are good shirts and great cause, great company.
You will not take them off. You will live in them every day.
It'll be your favorite shirt.
So, Adrienne, let's talk about your transition, leaving Screen Printing Magazine, coming to DTF.com. You were with Screen Printing Magazine for 10 years?
Yeah, so big picture, it would have been 11 years next year, and screen printing 4. So when I was with Big Picture, there was some restructuring in the company, and they were like, "You're going to be the editor-in-chief of screen printing too." I was like, "What?" Like, this has been a sister publication of mine, but I really don't know the industry. But I was so lucky that when I first went to my first event was the WB Week in Sacramento, and everyone's wearing t-shirts and jeans and so cool, and they're so welcoming, and they want to tell me, all the cool stuff about screen printing and their history with apparel decoration. I was like, oh, this is my industry too. So I was with screen printing for about 4 years, and DTF Superstore, which you may be familiar with if you've bought DTF equipment or supplies, inks, they bought DTF.com this year. And they hired me to be the editor-in-chief to completely build the website from scratch as a total educational platform for anyone in the direct-to-film space. So we have, my goal was to launch by Printing United. We launched Tuesday before the show.
So you made that deadline. It doesn't matter when it was, it happened.
It sounds like a big undertaking.
Yeah, it was a lot to get done in 2 months. We have more than 100 pages of content already on the site.
Okay.
We have 3 podcasts that are live, exclusive videos starting from DTF basics to how-tos, shop profiles, new products, press releases. So really, it should be your go-to space if you are already in the direct-to-film space or want to get into it. It's going to be this awesome hub and community. We have directories, a forum, links to our Facebook group as well. So I'm excited for it. I love starting something from scratch. And I think
it's awesome that you're the one that's making that transition over, because I think that you're going to provide like real honest feedback about what's going on in that world. I think a lot of people are looking at DTF right now and they're trying to figure out, do I order transfers? Do I buy equipment? How does this work in my shop? So as you're moving on, coming from the screen printing, really you went from wide format to screen printing, now to DTF. How do you see DTF fitting into the screen printing world now that you're starting to immerse yourself in that?
Sure, and I think it's an addition to screen printing and apparel decoration. I don't think it's going to eliminate screen printing at all. Most of the people I've spoken to, if they have DTF equipment in-house, they also have a screen printing press. So they're doing both, and it all really depends on the order and the client. And they're really having honest communication and conversation with their clients as well, describing, the difference and the processes. But if you're going to do a 500 run shirt order and you have screen printing equipment, that's the route you're going to take.
Yeah.
But DTF allows for shorter runs and more colors, and you can test things easily. So coming from the digital print side, I understand it a little bit more. I think screen printing, I still was probably trying to figure out, there's so many different processes. And of course there is with, DTF as well. But I think my digital background is helping. And it's not just, I think you should buy DTF equipment. If your business is telling, if it's buying transfers, selling transfers, there's so many different avenues. It doesn't have to be, it's time to buy DTF equipment now because now some of the bigger players have added that equipment. Which, by the way, I think is great. I think DTF is in its infancy. A couple of years in, you're seeing some of the major players, especially here at the show, adding new equipment. You're going to see more of that in the coming years as well.
So I heard someone say yesterday, when you're sitting here trying to decide buying equipment versus ordering the transfers from a company, their dollar amount was, if you're doing $5,000 in-house, you should buy equipment. What do you think about that?
You have to look at those numbers, and you have to see what exactly your shop is putting out. And if you're just doing, I don't know what you're doing else in your business. So it really is dependent. And I think the important thing is go to DTF.com, learn, educate yourself, but also talk to your current vendors, talk to other vendors, and talk to other shop owners.
Yeah.
You're still going to make a decision that is based on you and your specific, number of employees, the training that you can provide. That's a tough question to answer because it's so specific, but talk to people. Don't just say, okay, I talked to one person, that's what I'm going to go with. It's not the best route.
Yeah, you got to really do your own research by networking and talking to people. And then, of course, it sounds like your website is going to have just an incredible amount of information for both sides of it, whether you have a printer or you don't have one. Yeah, I know, in my shop alone, it's like right now we're shorthanded the last thing I need is one more thing to take care of. So I'm gonna outsource it. But it's, like you said, it's different for every shop. You just have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah, and I mean, outsourcing is a great thing. I mean, you send over those files, you get the transfers in a day, 2 days, and all you need is a heat press, and your customer doesn't know the wiser. Like, it's
for
pretty
me,
nice.
that means less employees in house, less payroll, less workers' comp. I just see dollar signs going down when I outsource it.
Yeah.
That's all.
True. Yeah, I mean,
It's kind of like having a VA, like a
Yeah.
virtual assistant.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Who has one of those? Not this guy.
I don't, but I need one.
Yeah.
Same.
But honestly, I mean, if I can heat press a shirt, anybody can heat press a shirt. Like, that part is so easy. So if that works for you,
Right.
you know. But yeah, if outsourcing just is dollar signs, and honestly, like, we've talked about this, Nikki, before, trusting the person, like your other vendors and who you're outsourcing. I know so many people who just have horror stories, and until you find that right person, it's usually not the first try. But, once you network and understand, okay, they seem to have a good track record, and you find someone that can really work out for you.
I agree with you. I have 2 companies I order from. This isn't an advertisement, so I won't say names, but I do, and I'm very happy with everything I get from them, and they are my go-tos. So find your go-to partners for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So DTF, is your goal to educate? Is that what we're looking for? Just provide all the resources?
Yeah.
And your podcast, do you talk about, like, I don't know, is your focus on, like, actual printing them, or the consumer and using them, or both sides, or?
Yeah, so there are 3 podcasts available right now: DTF Printing Podcast, Apple, Spotify, on our website, YouTube, etc. And the people I've talked to so far really runs the gamut. Either they have the equipment in-house, or they actually just sell transfers, or they're outsourcing. They were outsourcing, now they're bringing in. And the goal of the podcast specifically is so that people can better understand the inner workings of the business. How did you get your start? Where are you today? Let's talk about processes. Yes, let's talk about the technology, but let's also talk about, the business side of it too, because I think that's such a key component. When I was with screen printing, there probably, for especially people who had looked at the magazine for years and decades, there was a bit of a transition to focus more on business-related things, because that was the feedback that I was getting. It wasn't, okay, we understand the technology.
Right.
I actually have someone that I watch on YouTube constantly. I'm good there, but like, do I offer 401k to my employees? Most apparel decorators started off not in the business world. The same old story. I was a musician and I started printing it, for my band, and yada, yada, yada. That's so common. They didn't go to business school, and now all of a sudden the growing too fast is real. Like, all of a sudden you're $1 million company and you don't understand payroll or sales or anything. That's crazy. It's a good problem to have if you're growing, but
It's good and bad.
can be good and bad.
It's good and bad. Yeah, I know. It's a real problem, but that part is evolving in our industry too. There's more and more discussion on those type of topics, which I enjoy a lot. And then at home, I've kind of, looked to my own network, in my own community, and you should. Anyone who's in need of that kind of information, really look in your local communities, because there are business networking groups for, owners and CEOs and things that, you can really kind of dive into that deeper stuff. Even if you're not in the same industry, a lot of them cross over, right, and have the same kind of issues. It's just one more thing to add to the list.
Yeah,
right?
Deanna, you joined your chamber recently, which I'm also looking into mine. And I think it's one of those things, if we've always been the cool kids, we've never looked at these resources before, because it's a different playing field. And I joined a networking group a couple of years ago, and it was amazing for my business, and it really helped us grow in a different direction from what we were typically used to. And after talking with you, we're looking at the chamber as well. Like, what does that do for you?
the chamber's been really good for us just being more noticed in our community, which was my goal, because I was like, how have we been here 14 years and nobody even knows about us still? How is that possible? So for me, it was just kind of an indicator that like I need to be more present in my community, and so that's part of my goal with the chamber, is to just be out there networking more, just like we do here within our own industry, but doing it back home.
Yeah.
And then the second part of that is recently I've joined, it's like I said, like a business networking. It's smaller, it's a small group. There's only like 5 of us actually. It's called Opportunity Knocks. And you know, it's people who are in upper management, or like I said, ownership, and they're dealing with things like HR and trying to buy buildings and trying to get capital and like the really challenging stuff that you don't think about when you start a t-shirt business. So highly recommend seeking out any of that kind of info, because it really helps. Being an entrepreneur is kind of a lonely position sometimes, right? Or starting a DTF.com by yourself can be, you know, so having these groups, it just helps you feel heard, you know, and like, oh, someone gets me, you know, just, you know, like our Print Girl Mafia, like, okay, they know what I'm going through, so.
There's so much value, mutually beneficial value, when you're connected with your local community.
Yeah.
I was speaking with David Slagle today of B Graphics, and he just casually mentioned, oh yeah, I'm on the board of my local schools. It's a board of interns. And so he meets with students who are maybe interested in print, and they're having like, you know, days that they come into the shop. And he's like, I go to some of them are here at the show today, I guess, and they're gonna get lunch. And he's like, those are like future hires.
Employees.
Yeah, and it's like,
sure.
that's like a direct line, and you're also like working in your community, building your community, keeping people, you know, in the community. I was like, that's such a good idea that maybe not everyone's thought of.
Right.
I actually just had this conversation earlier today with Dave Eggers about trying to work with maybe like schools in your community about teaching the right artistic kid about screen printing, something that they never knew anything about, and now all of a sudden they know how to take something that they enjoy doing and make it a part of daily life. So, you know, certain things may never pay your bills, but you can always take something you love doing and find a way to find a job one day that you can utilize that skill set with, so that you can still do what you enjoy doing at night.
I think there's 100%. So much artistry in the entire print industry. There's something for everyone. I mean, tech, science, art, it's so fascinating. And I mean, that's part of what we're doing at Unite Together. We're working with underprivileged schools to bring printing equipment, screen printing equipment into their art departments to show that there's a career path for them, because I didn't know what wide format print was until I was looking for magazine journalism jobs, and I was like, yes, I don't know what that is, I'll figure it out. And so, but now, like, that's kind of, you know, print is all I know, but it would have been really cool to understand that that was maybe not for me, but for other kids in my high school or even grade school, that print is this awesome industry and there are so many layers and levels.
Totally. Before I started a screen printing shop, I never thought about how a t-shirt was made or printed. That definitely never crossed my mind. It just never had been introduced to me, right? Yeah. We had a local school for us reach out to us last year, and what an amazing teacher, right? It really comes down to these teachers work their tails off, and so she approached us, and we ended up having this term of students come through multiple times and learn like what a full process was, and that, you know, having a screen printing embroidery shop, like, it's a career. It's a real career that you can seek out. So yeah, I don't know, I couldn't tell you what your ROI is on that, but like, they're going to go home and tell their parents, and it's a cool experience. It's probably going to live with them for a long time. So I don't know that you can measure it. But
and Jessica Tillery with All Quality Graphics, she has an intern program, and she said there's a majority of those who stick, you know, they come back and become full-time employees. So also looking into that as an option, you know, maybe I'll have a summer intern and they could become a full-time employee. But it's actually student day here at Printing United. So there are a lot of kids walking around. I was at the Unite Together booth, and a group came over and we were chatting, and I was like, well, you know, what equipment do you have? This kid rattled off so much equipment. I'm like, most shops don't even have this. And I was like, you have an amazing teacher or a
Wow.
school system that's providing this.
Right.
You know, like, you don't know how lucky you are. And then I said, well, are you guys interested in art or science or tech or, you know, hoping that they say print? All of them are like print, you know. So I'm like, you must be having the best time here today.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Yeah, I know.
I wish I could have done that when I was in high school.
I know.
We didn't have, I mean, we had stuff, but we didn't have cool stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Unite Together.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to us about that? Do you want to tell us what it is, what they do, where it's gone from day one to now, how you're involved?
Yeah, sure. So Unite Together now is a nonprofit for the entire print industry, and our goal is to make it more diverse and inclusive. And it started as an internal program with Rock US. It was hashtag Rock Together, and internal movement, sharing resources, sharing movies, TV shows, different things to make that organization more diverse and inclusive. And I was involved in the hashtag Women Rock movement because of my involvement with the Women in Print Awards. And then we felt in the Facebook group there were women who were like, well, I don't have a rock machine, so can I not be part of this? And it's like, okay, well, why are we kind of the whole point of this is to be inclusive, and now we're making it seem like, oh, you have to be green to be part of this, which wasn't true at all. So that's when we created Unite Together, understand new ideas through empathy. And it was then just for the apparel industry, but because of my connection with the wide format space and Josh Carruth, who's on the board with Printing United Alliance, it really was like, well, let's do the entire print industry. So that's where we are now. We have a booth here at the show. We have all kinds of pamphlets, resources. So I mentioned working with underprivileged schools. We do that, but we also work with associations like the Net. If you're looking to hire someone with disabilities, they will work with you. They'll find someone. They'll be the mentor and coach. So you don't necessarily have to be an expert in working with someone who's on the spectrum. They're going to coach that person and be, you know, if there's an issue, call them up. They'll be there. Jed Seifert with Stakes Manufacturing, he's on the board with me. That's his bread and butter, is hiring people with disabilities. Of course, we partner, you know, women in screen printing and women in print is so important to me. So we became a nonprofit a few months ago, and now we have 3 different subcommittees, which anyone can join: social media marketing, education, and development. So our next town hall, we'll be working on that, and anyone can go to unitetogether.us. Take our pledge, we'll get your email, you'll get all of our information. But you know, we're still in our infancy, and there's so much that you can do with diversity and inclusion. So really it's we're gathering people now to see how much we can grow and do within print.
Yeah, I think the industry has worked really hard at being more diverse and inclusive, and I mean, why not? It makes us all stronger for it.
I think we've seen it just in the 2 years of the forming of Print Girl Mafia.
Right.
You know, like just the group that we created, and then the amount of people that are coming out and talking about the problems that they're having. And, you know, there's some guys out there that are like, I never knew that was a problem. So sometimes it just takes bringing it to light for people to see it, because if you don't expose it, then people don't know.
I think it's all about conversations.
Yes.
That's so important, and we're not I think the all women groups are so amazing. I was talking about them with someone today, because there are so many conversations that we just want to have in a safe space, but we do need our male allies, and that's where, you know, these conversations, listening to podcasts, being involved in awards and different organizations, you know, we all have to work on this together, but it's just having that conversation that maybe a little bit like, what, you know, oh, you're calling me out because my sales rep didn't address a female at the booth, you know, we got to talk about that.
Yeah,
like
communication as a whole is key. Yeah. Just open, honest communication. It's like my biggest thing that I preach. Like, if you see something, say something. You don't have to be a jerk about it, but you can find a way to talk about it and deal with the problem right then and there.
We use that in our shop. If you see something, say
say
something.
something.
If that don't look good, you better be saying something.
If that ink is on the floor, pick it up.
Yeah. All right. And anything else that you want to go over?
Well, I'm also part of the Women in Print Alliance.
You're like so busy. I don't even know how you do it all.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I'm a little less busy with this new job. I'm still very busy, but I'm not working for 2 magazines and doing all the things. So I'm kind of like, what is this? It's really nice. But yeah, we just had the Women in Print Alliance luncheon the Women in Print Alliance is through Printing United, and I've been on the advisory council for almost 8 years now. It kind of started out with just women in the industry discussing women in print, and we created this board through Printing United Alliance, and now we have a full-time director, Elizabeth Lyons, who's amazing. We have a monthly newsletter. We're working on a lot of different things. We had an event last night. Our luncheon today, the focus was on building your digital brand. It was specific to LinkedIn. And I found it like very valuable, your goals, how often you should post, how much you should bring in personal stuff. I thought it was awesome, but there was a quote, and of course I don't remember who it was, but it was like, no one was talking about me until I started talking about me.
That's true. Very true.
You have to promote yourself.
And
you have to promote your brand.
I'll be real with you. I just jumped back on LinkedIn probably within the last 8 months, and it's been huge in my town with people starting to reach back out and ask about business services, screen printing, embroidery. So yeah, if you have more to add to the LinkedIn aspect, please do, because it's way more valuable than I think people understand.
Yeah. I got my job with Big Picture because I posted on my alumni's LinkedIn group, and I was like, I'm looking for a magazine journalism job in Cincinnati, Ohio, and my former boss reached out and I got the job. So I'm like, LinkedIn's the best, but it doesn't have to be just for recruitment or for I'm looking for a job. Now there's a lot of value there, especially with what she said, but I found it really interesting, and I can't remember the speaker's name right now, but I think it was Build Your Brand or Be Your Brand, and there was a lot of value that I got out of that.
Awesome. So the luncheon is something you think that people should sign up for in the future, Printing United?
You should, because it was completely sold out months ago.
It was sold out.
It was sold out, and there were still people up until last week in the PGM Facebook page asking how to get into this luncheon, so maybe they need to make it bigger next year.
Yeah, so it used to be a breakfast, and it was always the only sold out event at the expo. So this year I know that they did expand it, but the room was completely full. So even next year we're going to have to make it bigger.
I think that tells you that the need for the community that's being built is totally there, and the resources that they're providing, that we're hoping to provide, just that camaraderie, it's needed.
Yeah.
And when I looked out, I just saw successful professional leaders.
Yeah.
That's what I saw in that room, and I could feel that energy. But then it was also really nice, oh, wow, this is our community. These are women supporting each other, asking questions, wanting to grow. It was really powerful.
So is there, do you have to sign up for Women in Print?
So you can go to womeninprintalliance.com. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can get more information. I know that we're growing so many different avenues in terms of, mentorship and building your own self in terms of your career path, things like that. Again, Elizabeth Lyons is doing a great job. So if you go to womeninprintalliance.com, you'll be able to sign up for the newsletter and get more information.
Okay. Awesome. Well, do we want to ask just a couple questions that we've had from Instagram and Facebook people?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So, the big question.
Oh, man. I'm nervous.
It's the moneymaker.
Oh, my gosh.
Now that you're quite well into your career, you're crushing it here, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, my gosh.
If you had to do this again, is there anything you would do different, maybe?
I think continue having the confidence, and actually, if I was being brutally honest, when I was 22 years old and was like, magazine journalism job, yes, I would have been like, no, that price is insane, and you're going to pay me more, and I'm going to negotiate. So maybe that's it. Actually negotiate for what you're worth.
So know your value.
Yes, know your value. Because to be honest, I anchored myself at 22, so even when I did get promotions, were they really what other people, were at in that. So, know your worth, speak your value, if you're not sure about how to negotiate, take courses. LinkedIn has a lot of that stuff for free. So that is what I would have said at the very beginning of my career.
Right.
But also, just continue to have the confidence and know who you are and know what you provide. I think that I do a good job of that, and maybe that's why I'm where I'm at today.
Yeah. That's not an easy thing to do. Like, I don't know about you, Nikki, but when, we started in the zone, it was understanding what our value was and charging appropriately. We did not understand that in the beginning. We kind of learned the hard way, and man, it was so hard for some reason to be like, no, this is my price. This is what I deserve to make. And sticking to that with people, that was tough.
It is hard, and then it's even harder when you don't start out at the right price. Look, one of the biggest things that I see right now, and I say this all the time, is I see these people in their garage shops really undercutting themselves. And they say, well, I don't have the same overhead costs that the big shop does. And I'm like,
but you will.
You will. You will get there. So go ahead and pretend like you pay a certain dollar amount, whatever's in your area, in rent. And go ahead and factor that cost in to your printing. Go ahead and factor in like a receptionist. Factor in a phone service, internet service, electric service, like whatever it is that you're utilizing in your house. Put that in your pricing, and don't be the cheapest, because what's going to happen, you're going to leave that garage shop and go into a location, and your pricing is going to jump so high, your customers are not going to understand why that happened. They're going to think you're just trying to price gouge them.
Right.
And they're not going to understand that you weren't charging appropriately all along. Like, that's, know your value. We went through the same thing as a shop, and what happened for us is when we jumped that pricing up to what it should have been, we lost some people. But then they came back because they went other places and got far less superior work.
Right.
And then they understood why we were making those changes. We were also open and honest with them too, and I think that's a big factor there as well.
Yeah. Also charge up front.
Prepay.
100% prepay. No more.
That was a tough lesson too.
No.
Without a doubt, COVID gave my shop the platform to make that change, thank goodness. Because it saved our shop 100%.
And I'll be honest with you, before we were 100, and I heard somebody talk about this the other day, and it made me think back to before we were 100% prepay. When I looked at the job board and I said, I mean, it's technically due tomorrow, but this person over here already paid me. I did the job that already paid me. So that's the other thing too. That's a good way to kind of put it to your customers as well.
Yeah, priority.
All right, so let's see. What else do we have? I mean, what's the secret to your success, Adrienne? Please tell us.
I don't know.
On the spot.
You can't just pop it out of a magic hat like a bunny.
I mean, I went to school for magazine journalism, so that is my education. That's what I'm passionate about, content creating. And I'm not working for a magazine anymore, but the basics are still there. What I want to do is help people grow their businesses. And I think me having that passion is really key to my success, but also I just consider myself a connector. Okay. Maybe, expert in the industry or this. I think I'm a connector. If I don't have the answer, I know 100 people that I can connect with, and I love doing that. And I think that's also what's so great about this industry is there aren't too many secrets necessarily. People are open to sharing, what's going on behind their shop, because there's especially in the apparel industry, there's so much business to go around that, come in my shop, see what I'm doing. So I think that because I've been able to network and because I'm able to connect, I think that's really helped people want to come to whatever, publication or because they, I hope, trust me and trust the product that I'm going to put out. So I hope that's why.
I have a good wild card that's not on the list.
Oh boy.
Did you have a backup?
You got a wild card?
Yeah. Right. Did you have a follow-up question?
Nope.
No?
Hit her up.
So what do you think is missing in the industry as far as a platform to talk about? What are things that you'd like to see on the podcast? Other than the actual physical act of printing, what do you think people are screaming that they just wish that they had more of? Well, what do we need to talk about?
I think a little bit of what we talked about, true business 101. I think that's important to me. And I mean, I don't have a business background, so it wouldn't be my knowledge, but I would get an expert to, come on to our site and talk about that. I think that Bruce and Steven had on Nick, and I can't think of his last name, but it was ways to sell your shirts, actually the cost behind that. So I think selling, like selling and business are really keys that I think we're not talking about enough, because the way that you print your shirt, I mean, there's so many YouTube videos, there's so many different pieces of content out there. I think we're lacking in the business and the sales side. And Kevin Baumgart with Sales Inc., he's created a networking group. I mean, you have to pay to be in it, but he provides a lot of value there, and it's specifically for, hiring a salesperson, because yes, there is so much value in word of mouth, but I think that as you grow, like hiring a true salesperson for your business could really take you to the next step. And he provides, this consulting service and also a network of people that wouldn't be anyone in your that wouldn't be a competitor to you, but could also talk about that. So I would check that out too.
Deanna, what do you think about that group?
He is a wealth of information.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. And I would add to that in saying that what Kevin teaches, it goes beyond outside sales. You can use this stuff for your inside sales experience, for how to keep your customers, right? Like, you can cross over a lot of what he teaches in, being better relationship-wise with your current customers. That's kind of my mindset right now, is to kind of like, what can I utilize that I already have first, and then go from there. And his info is great.
Yeah.
And he's on it. Like, if you have a question, I mean, he's back at you with an answer and helpful information.
He's also just really immersed himself in the industry too. So he's more than just someone who's teaching you how to sell. Anybody can talk to you about stuff like that. He's immersed himself inside of this actual industry and gives like real world scenarios on what we actually do.
Yeah, it's super helpful because he understands the industry for sure, right?
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to keep you too long because you have another very important task to go do.
Some awards to give out to do very special ladies very soon. Yes.
You're going to be tired by the end of the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he was not tired after a day at a trade show.
We'll just have some drinks later. It's fine.
Yeah. Second wind.
Yeah.
Well, it's truly an honor to have you. And thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you for being one of our day one supporters. Adrienne has really been around since day one and immediately latched on to us and wanted to know what she could do to help in any capacity to grow us. And she's never asked for anything in return. She simply just wanted to give back. So, thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. And
Thanks,
Deanna.
Adrienne.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks
Cheers.
for joining us, guys. Have a good day.